Now I know I've said this before, but today's video might be the most controversial one of all time. Because in today's video, we are going to be ranking micronations. Now, if you don't know what micronations are, then first of all, take a guess. And if you still can't figure it out, then it's basically nations that are super small, typically made by some random guy that lives in Essex. These micronations can be anything from houses, oil rigs, small islands, a piece of land within America. But yeah, let's get into this. Let's start off by ranking the Contra Republic. Now, this is a micronation that was started on the 23rd of April 1982, I think. And it was actually built as a protest between the construction of a US border checkpoint between US mainland and the Florida Keys. But it only ended up causing gridlock for like the 70-year-old golf-obsessed fanatics that live down there. The mayor of the Keys actually just decided to pull a move straight from the 1800s and decided to form the country inside of this building. And then seconds later decided to smash a loaf of Cuban bread that was stale over a naval officer's head. Then surrendered and asked the US for $1 billion in foreign aid. Obviously it didn't work. So let's talk about the cons of the Contra Republic. Well, first of all, it's not suitable for growth of crops as carpet isn't very fertile. The only way to generate revenue is from the vending machine in the waiting room. And then finally, I fear that when the residents do run out of food, they will take a note from the Dutch and eat their own Prime Minister, which isn't ideal. So I am going to rate the Contra Republic as pretty terrible. I feel like any micronation that is a building isn't going to be too good. Rose Island is a micronation that used to be part of the Sealand Empire in like the 20th century, but became independent some time ago as well. This was built in like 1968 by some Italian architects, and it's about 400 square meters, which for you Americans is 1 square meter 400 times. But it was actually meant to be a tourist hotspot and a souvenir shop for all those people that take holidays in the Adriatic Sea for some reason. But right after opening, the owner got power hungry and immediately declared sovereignty, thus making it a brand new country. Instead of seeing this as a threat to their country, Italy saw this as a threat to their GDP and immediately assumed this guy was committing tax evasion. So the Italian Navy blew up the country. Here's my cons about this country, Rose Island. It no longer exists. Next up, we have got the Republic of Minerva, which was built by the Michael Oliver. Why did he build the Republic of Minerva? Probably tax evasion. But he didn't decide to buy an island like a normal person. He just decided to dump a load of sand in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. But what happened to this country? Well, the guy got cocky. He sent out notes to all neighbouring countries telling them to fear their presence. Tonga literally said, didn't ask, came over to the island and kicked them all off. They attempted to reoccupy the island again many years later, but this time Tonga kicked them out even faster. So as you can tell from this image here, this is actually the island. I don't know how much he paid these guys for them to live on it, but it must have been in the millions because it doesn't exist. There's nothing there. If you didn't at least build land, then at least build it above the water. I mean, I could thrive there if I was an amphibian, but that is not the case. So it's going to go in, you couldn't pay me to live there. Fourth place, we have got Cristiana in Denmark. This isn't your typical micronation as it was in ex-army barracks in like the 1960s or something. But in 1971, hippies took it over. It pretty much has no rules and you are free to do whatever you want to some extent. And also, technically the safest place in the world as it has no crime statistics to back anything up. I mean, it's kind of smart, what can I say? But however, that probably isn't the case. It probably isn't that safe. You're probably safer walking through no man's land with the world's strongest magnet attached to you. I honestly think a lot of bad stuff goes on in this place. This border around here is actually Cristiana, I think, and as you can tell, it's a really weird shaped country, not gonna lie. Have Google Maps coverage? They might honestly not. Oh no, they do. They do have Google Maps coverage. I'm pretty sure you can't film it, so that's quite interesting. And not gonna lie, it doesn't look very pleasant. I honestly thought North Korea would have more coverage on this place because I'm pretty sure these people wouldn't like you at all if you filmed. Yeah, so as you can see, I mean, the buildings don't look too bad. They are definitely livable in. Seems like it might have a large population as well, and it's even got a cash point. Okay, yeah, this micronation is way more advanced than all the other ones. Would I live there, however? Probably not. It still looks kind of depressing, not gonna lie. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna put it in, nah, it's good and bad. It's got some advanced, you know, technology. It's got buildings, but at the same time, it is super dangerous. I wouldn't want to spend time there. Next up, we have got Ladonia in Sweden. Or, well, not in Sweden, it's his own nation, of course, but It was in Sweden. Basically, to summarise it, an artist in Sweden built a few sculptures and put it in a park in Sweden. The local council didn't like them, they weren't the greatest, and decided to remove them. So of course the sculptor was absolutely outraged. He went to court with the Swedish government. Swedish government won the court case. He was absolutely fuming and decided to declare the small area around his sculptures as an independent nation so that the Swedish government couldn't remove them. But yeah, this country doesn't seem like it's going to be a powerhouse or anything. It is pretty goddamn small. I'm going to put it there. It's hard to call the nation of celestial space a micronation when it technically would be the biggest nation in the world or in the universe. Basically, this nation is the whole universe except for Earth, because obviously that would be stupid. You can't claim Earth as a country. He knows what he's doing, don't worry. Honestly though, this man might be the bravest man to ever exist, because when the US and Russia decided to start sending rockets up to space, he decided that is infringing on his land and sent them notes stating that they are infringing on his land. So that's why the US actually decided to film the moon landing in a studio. Honestly, there's not many cons I can say about this country. This country has got infinite resources, possibly the largest population, and infinite landmass. It can't get any better than that. Apart from the fact that it's also less accessible than North Korea. And 2, doesn't have any oxygen, so I can't say I would thrive there, but I can say it's good, and that's exactly what it is. Next up, we have got Molossia, which is probably one of the most well-known micronations of all time. Because believe it or not, this was actually started as a school project by some guy called Kevin in the middle of Nevada. It's actually a mock dictatorship and even has territorial claims in places like Pennsylvania and California, I believe. Unfortunately though, he didn't get the highest grade because someone else in his class, known as Chris, decided to bring back the Roman Empire, and that is pretty hard to beat, not gonna lie. The country has a ban on guns as well as light bulbs, you know, the second biggest killer in the US. He also has a ban on catfishes and walruses, which I think they're gonna be fine with because he lives in a bloody desert. Oh, and he also banned anything from Texas, which is quite brave of him, not gonna lie. Despite the history behind it sounding pretty cool, I just don't think I could see myself living in a country that is so small that it has visitor parking. I mean, look at it. It's essentially just some guy's backyard, who obviously loves cars a lot, with a little bit more security. And even then, the security is not great. Also, I'm pretty sure their customs is that one shack that Shrek pops out of at the start of the movie. Would I thrive? I mean, I guess I could thrive there. It's essentially just living in a house in the middle of the desert, really. If I could build my own house on that land, I would thrive there. This next one is going to be the Principality of Sealand, in my opinion, the 6th country of the UK, right behind Wales. The country, not the animal. I believe it's off the coast of East Anglia and was used in World War II as defence for the UK. World War II, of course, ended some years ago, so some guy decided to take over it. What are the cons of living in Sealand, you might be wondering? Well, considering it's surrounded by water, the only options you have for food is either going all the way to mainland to the nearest Tesco's to get your food, or fishing in the middle of the ocean. And considering that place was a battleground at one point, I don't think those fish are going to taste good. Those fish have got generational trauma. They probably taste like despair and stress, and that is not good eating at all. Second of all, there's nowhere to park. And third of all, their national football team is awful, but what do you expect when their nation is half the size of an actual football pitch? It's not good and it's not bad. Next up, we have got the province of Bumbunga, which is owned by the biggest British patriot of all time that doesn't even live in the UK. Basically, some guy in Australia was thinking that the Australian government was trying to make Australia a republic, which this guy didn't like as he was a massive monarchist. So he decided that he would make his field a separate country so that it can still be ruled by the UK. As you can see, this is where the province of Bumbunga would exist, and it is quite literally just a field. Hey, you can grow crops on it, and it also has pink lakes for some reason, so what's not to love? I'm sure that isn't deadly in the slightest. It's once again, it's going in the middle. New Atlantis was a raft that was floating off the coast of Jamaica until a storm destroyed it. It doesn't exist anymore. You couldn't pay me to live there. The Contra Democratic Empire was apparently a successor from Alexander the Great's empire, ruling territory from South Korea to Australia. Now, I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure Alexander the Great wasn't spending his time smoking cigarettes and fighting kangaroos in the outback. Oh no, look at that. Apparently the Contra Democratic Empire owned the whole earth, apparently. Yeah, that isn't very micronation of them. They're chatting nonsense. It's not a successor. It's full of lies, and I don't appreciate that. And then finally, we have got the Kingdom of Enenkio, I think it's pronounced. It was made for financial fraud. I mean, I'm going to have to put it in, you couldn't pay me to live there, because if you did pay me, then I would also probably get done for financial fraud, and I don't want that. So apparently this is Enenkio right here, and judging by it, it's got an airport, and it actually has buildings, so I don't think they built those themselves. I think they just decided to declare this random island in the Marshall Islands as their own nation, which would be a bit like me declaring the Isle of Wight as a micronation. It's not really how it works. It's tempting to live there, but financial fraud is a big issue. But yeah, I mean, there we go. We have ranked all the micronations for today's episode. Only one country made it in the Wood 5 there section, so it was definitely a tough ranking. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there for today's video. If you did enjoy the video, then feel free to leave a like and maybe subscribe, as we are super close to 10 million subscribers. If you guys have got any other micronations that I should add in the next video, then feel free to leave them in the comments below as well. But thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.